La da 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 da. Groove and finger picking. How do we create that? That sense that, man, we just want to bob our head without thinking about it. It just happens. I'm going to show you how. Hey y'all, I'm Jay Withrow. So glad you are here with me today. I'm going to show you how to put that groove straight into our finger picking specifically. You know, not long ago I released a video talking about how to put groove into strumming patterns using a pick, and I got such great feedback. Y'all were like, hey, how can we do those techniques in finger picking? So here's the video. And that's something I'm really passionate about, is taking the elements of a drum kit like kick, snare, hi-hat, and the rhythms that they create, the relationships they have, putting those things right into our hands. And so today we're gonna do, you know, emulate that full stroke snare drum, or ghost notes even, where we've got rhythms that are a little more felt than they are heard, but they really add to that sense of groove. So I want you to be able to take these concepts. I'm gonna break them down really simply so that you could take them and put them into your own playing in any chord progression you've got to get that groove. So let's do it. Well, y'all, let's jump into this first technique. This is called the thumb slap. And if I had a pick, this would be a mute strum, but when we're finger picking, we create that full stroke snare drum sound on beats 2 and 4 using the thumb slap. This is the one technique of any technique we do today that is the one that I think gives the most immediate feeling of groove, because that's normally the one you'd clap on or that you would kind of bob your head to, is beats 2 and 4. And so here's how I create this thumb slap. As far as wrist motion, I don't really move the wrist very much. It's very minimal. Most of the movement comes from just my thumb. I reel it back and then I whip it down, just nice and easy like that, straight into the low E and A strings. Those are the two thickest strings, and they make for the nicest kind of sound, recreating that crack of a snare. And so if we do that on beats 2 and 4, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4, then there we go, we've got it. So that's how the thumb slap is created. And if you need to pause it, work on that, just keep getting used to moving your thumb like that, where it's just catapulting straight into the low E and A till it's getting that nice crack. Well, now let's put that thumb slap in context of a chord with a plucking pattern here like this. And so this chord shape is an A minor 7. Let's make that. So here's what I'm doing. Thumb is muting low E, open A, middle finger, 2nd fret of D, open G, first finger, 1st fret of B, open high E. This nice jazzy kind of R&B A minor 7 chord. And then with our plucking hand, thumb is plucking A, first finger's plucking D, middle and 3rd finger's plucking G, B, and we do it on beats 1 E and A. So you might just practice that, 1 and A. Dun, dun, dun. And then right after that, your hand is, you know, floating, hovering above the strings. You just bring your hand straight down. You allow that thumb to whip down hard onto the low E and A strings, hitting both of them. And that's how you do it. Now, because I'm resetting my thumb onto the A string each time to pluck the A string again, you might notice that my thumb, sometimes when it hits, it rests in between the low E and A string, just because I'm getting it ready to pluck that A string again, like that. And I just did it on that time. Now, if you hit it hard enough, right, in between the E and A, I mean, it's gonna get both the E and A to make that nice crack. But whether it hits on top of the low E or in between, just make sure that eventually the thumb does slip down in between so it can reset and be ready to pluck the A. Now, let's do this as an actual progression here. 1, 2, 3, 4, and a 1 E and a 2, a 3 E and a 4, and a 1 E and a 2, a 3 E and a 4, and a 1 E and a 2, 3. Y'all, this next technique is so nice. We've got what I call string mutes, and they're emulating ghost notes on a snare drum. And these are those rhythms that are more felt than they are heard. And these are oftentimes what are giving people that unconscious kind of feeling of, man, I just want to move to this. A lot of time that's helped being created by ghost notes, or these string mutes as I call them. So we've got that A minor 7 with the slap, but now you're going to hear these little muted strings on the and after beats 2 and 4 like this. And a 1 and a 2 and a 3 and a 4 and. All right, you also heard that I added in an E7 chord. So let's do this. Let's take that same A minor 7 chord we just did in the last section. Same thing with the thumb slaps. Just after we finally get to that thumb slap, we're going to relax our left hand, or our chording hand, and we don't take the fingers off the strings, right? We just relax them. They're not pressing down anymore. I take my third and pinky fingers, just let them lay on all the strings, keeping them from vibrating. And then my thumb is gonna pluck the muted A string and first finger the muted D. On the and a, 1 and a 2 and a. So just practice doing that, what we did last time, then the new and-as, and just keep repeating that. And after we do that 3 times, now we're gonna switch on the 4th bar to E7. So it's still the same fingers and same kind of spacing of our fingers. We're just gonna pop each finger up 1 string now, 2nd fret of A, 1st fret of D. And with the plucking hand, I'm gonna let my thumb do a rest stroke. I'm gonna pluck the low E, but let it rest on the A, then roll it off the A. And then first and middle fingers plucking D, G, 1 and a 2, like that. And then a thumb slap at the end, same kind of thumb slap as earlier. Nothing different about that. And then I'm gonna do 3 ghost notes, E and a. I'm just gonna relax my fingers again, put the 3rd and 4th fingers down, E and a. Low E, D, G. Thumb, first, middle. It's kind of got that swing to it, cha-cha-cha. Okay, so now I'll do that 2 times slow, and then I'll speed it up a little bit. Ready, and a 1 and a 2 and a 3 and a 4 and a 1 and a 2 and a 3 and a 4 E and a 1 and a 2. Now a little quicker. 1 and a 2 and a 3 and a 4 and a 1 and a 2 and a 3 and a 4 and a. So these last 2 techniques that I'm going to teach you that help create groove, they're really chording hand techniques, focusing on our chording hand as opposed to our plucking hand. And this first technique is called syncopating a rhythm, or syncopation. It's just a big fancy word. That means that we're going to take a note and move it from being on kind of the regular downbeats, like when we're counting in 16ths like this, like the numbers and the ands, and we're just going to choose to move it to an E or an A beat, an off beat. And when we do this, it can give a sense of surprise that helps move the groove along. Check it out. On the second half of the first bar, that very last E, I'm going to add a bent note. Check it out. A 1 and a 2 and a 3 and a 4 E. So see how we play that on that E beat? It kind of gives this surprise. I think our mind is expecting to hear things kind of happen regularly, you know, on the downs. And then when we give our mind something fresh, something it wasn't expecting, feels nice, it's surprising. And I think great groove is created through that juxtaposition of things happening on the downbeats and then inserting things happening on those offbeats, and it kind of gives an energy that keeps the rhythm moving along. Now let me show you how to do this. It's pretty simple. Right after that thumb slap, our 3rd finger is free, and we're just gonna move it over to that 3rd fret of the low E. And you notice that I do something called recruiting. You don't have to do this, but I like to do it. It makes it just easier for me to bend the notes. It's very natural for me to do. I put my middle finger on the low E as well to help me bend it. I pluck the 3rd fret, my 3rd finger's playing. A great bend, a lot of times what helps give this nice bluesy kind of attitude is not bending too soon. You actually hold the note out for a little bit, and at the last second, then you bend the note. So it's like 1 E and a 2, 3 E and a 4 E, E See how I hold, bend, hold, bend. So just make sure you're doing that in your bend to really give that kind of what I call attitude to the bend. So practice that on that E beat, and then we can play the whole progression. Ready, and a 1 E and a 2 and a 3 and a 4 E, 1 and a 2 and a 3 and a 4 E and a 1 and a 2 and a 3 and a 4 E. Little faster, here we go. 1 and a 2 and a 3 and a 4 E. So this last technique is what I'm calling ornamentation, where we're making things a little fancier than just playing single notes by using a slide, as well as a little hammer-on to give even a further sense of groove in the progression. So I'm going to be moving from that other progression to a new one that's based off of the example song that started out the video. There's that little slide. And there's that hammer. So to get into this, the rhythms and the string mutes and the thumb slap, everything's going to be the same, as that old progression, but let's work on this new chord shape. This is definitely a little more advanced, so take your time with it. Middle finger is going to play the 7th fret on low E. It's going to bend over and mute the A, and then here's the challenge. The 3rd finger is going to bar all bottom 4 strings, D, G, B, E. And so if this is gonna, take a little bit for you, that's okay. Don't worry yourself, just come back to it, try to do the best you can. And then with our plucking hand, we're gonna have that same rhythm, 1 E and a 2. I'm just using my thumb on the low E now, B1, 1, first finger plucking D, 1 E and then middle and 3rd finger playing G and B, right, 1 E and then slap on 2, 1 E and a 2, 1 E and a 2. Okay, but then the way it's different is I'm gonna take that pinky way up there and you gotta stretch it out, and I'm gonna take my thumb, just nice strum on all the strings, 1 E and 2, 3 and 3 and So I'm gonna strum on that, and then on I'm gonna release the pinky, and then basically do a little staccato note. I'm just gonna take my first finger and do a little upstroke on the high E, B, and G, and then immediately let the pressure off my fingers so that it sounds staccato. So really slow, it'd sound like this. And a 1 E and a 2, and a 3 and a 4. A 1 E and a 2, a 3 and a 4. Okay? And so after that, we're gonna do a little mute, or string mute, on thumb plucking the low E, right? Our chording hands relaxed. Plucking that low E, first finger plucking the D, tap, tap. And so there it is all together. Let's do that slow. And a 1 E and a 2, and a 3 and a 4, and a 1 E and a 2, a 3 and a 4. Okay, now on that second pass of that, now we're gonna go to that E beat. And a 4 E down, and we're gonna move our middle finger down to the 5th fret of the A string, and once we pluck that, we're gonna slide it up to the 7th fret. But once you do get to that 7th fret, we're actually gonna pluck the string with our thumb. Dun, dun. So you're gonna hear the slide and me plucking the string again. So to hear that in context, like that. Dun, dun. Okay, and so once we get there, let's keep going, then we'll put this all together in a second. Dun, dun. We're gonna be on that 7th fret. This is gonna be like that original chord shape, it's just everything slid down a string. So middle finger is now 7th fret of A, muting the D, and then that 3rd finger's barring just the bottom 3 strings. 1 E and a 2, 1 E and a. So I'm plucking thumb on A, first finger plucking G, and then middle and 3rd finger plucking B and high E this time. 1 E and a 2, 3 and a 4. Same thing with the pinky on that 9th fret, and then with the staccato note. And then we can do thumb or first finger, even middle finger. I think I might naturally be doing my middle finger on that, ta, ta, getting our little string mutes. Da, 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 da. And then da, da, we're gonna finish by, instead of just doing a 1 note, for the offbeat, we're gonna go and we're gonna do a little hammer, right? Still using my middle finger, taking my thumb on my plucking hand, just plucking low E, and then immediately hammering it onto that 5th fret, nice and easy. Da-da. And then we can slide it from there. Da-da. Or actually, in this case, let's not slide it. Let's make it staccato. Ba-dum, bum. And then we're back to the beginning of our progression by going back to the 7th fret. Okay? Well, now let's try to do this all together, but do it really slow, and then we'll work our way up quicker and quicker. A 1, a 2, a 3, and a 1 and 2, a 3 and 4, and a 1 and 2, a 3 and a 4 E. Quicker, 1 and 2, a 3 and 4, and a 1 and a 2, a 3 and a 4 E. One and 2 and a 3 and a 4 and a 2 Y'all, that was so good. And don't forget, I do have another video that shows you how to put groove into your strumming patterns using a pick. Man, you can be really dangerous if you can do both groove in fingerpicking and in strumming. You can do anything out there. So guys, check that out. Link in the description. Thank you again so much for your support. I would be honored to have your subscription, and I'll see you at the next lesson.